So if you recently dove into the new season for year 7 for the Division 2, you'll know that the season modifiers have created some insane play styles. And I'll tell you, I think this might be the best season we've had yet for seasonal modifiers, with giving players an option to play a lot of different ways. Now, I'll tell you, one of the best kept secret weapons in the game at the moment is the tactical MK16. The main reason why is because a lot of people really weren't using it unless you were running something like the Umbra in Conflict. Most players stayed away from it because of the slow rate of fire. Yes, its base rate of fire is 625, but with the seasonal modifiers, and if you pair it on something like a striker set, it becomes a shredding machine. Whether you're playing legendary like the beginning of this clip, or you're just doing the open world kill squads, look how fast they go down. Now, another reason I do like the tactical MK16 is because the accuracy and stability on this weapon is still really good for a slower rate of fire weapon. A lot of times those harder hitting, slower rate of fire weapons have pretty bad recoil, something like the TKB, the AKM. While they all hit very hard and they are a slower rate of fire weapon, they just can't compete with the accuracy and stability that the tactical MK16 provides. And that's why I've become a big fan. And I was already using this on an Umbra build for Conflict. But with the new seasonal modifiers, I brought this bad boy out. I even put some expertise in it for PvE. And I've seen numbers up to almost 2 million damage. And I'm running 1.5 million armor on this build. Now, a fan favorite right now is the Lexington. The one thing I found out about the Lexington with the seasonal modifiers being able to have an additional 30% rate of fire is that your RPM is at 1,216. But at that RPM, I feel that with the ARs hitting so hard, a lot of times you're blasting through, wasting so much ammo on the end of the kill. So you end up reloading more than you really should be doing. But something like the tactical MK16, which the base rate of fire is 625, but you pair that with the striker for the 15% and then up to 30% with the seasonal modifiers, the tactical MK16 is starting to be in a league of its own. I'm definitely a big fan of it. We're seeing numbers over 2 million damage per bullet. And if we look at the accuracy and stability and compare it to something like the Lexington, which is a fan favorite, you'll be surprised to know that the accuracy and stability isn't that much better on the Lexington. And that's something to say because the Lexington is one of the most accurate weapons in the game. And you can see the green on the left is the Lexington, which is slightly better with stability and then just slightly better with accuracy. So overall, the tactical MK16 is an absolute laser beam with that extra rate of fire that you're getting from the seasonal modifier. So I am going to be running a 4-piece striker. You guys know striker is pretty insane. And with this build, we're going to be sitting around 1.5 million armor. So yes, we are not running all reds. This season, I just don't think there's a reason why you need to run all reds, to be honest. We just have so much extra damage and the survivability is there. So for the 2 pieces of the strikers, you remember we're going to get 15% weapon handling, that 15% rate of fire, and then weapons gamma. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up 100 times. Now 1 stack is lost per second for 0 to 50 stacks, and then 2 stacks from 50 to 100. And when you're at full stacks with this striker build and with the season modifier stack, it's just absolutely melting everything. For the mask, we do have weapon damage on here, crit chance, and a crit chance mod. For our second piece of strikers, we have the holster, and then that's going to have armor and crit damage. For our third piece of strikers, we have the knee pads. That's going to be armor, crit damage. For our fourth and final piece of strikers are the gloves, and that's going to be armor and crit chance. So you see a lot of armor rolls already. For the chest, we have the Grupo Sombra chest for the 13% crit damage. We have weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and then a crit chance mod. I need to get this optimized. I just don't have the materials yet. But we have obliterate, critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds. So that means we can get additional 20% weapon damage on this build from this talent alone. For the bag, we are running the Memento backpack for weapon damage, armor, skill tier, and then we have a critical hit damage mod. And by now, most of you guys know Memento is probably one of my favorite pieces to run. You can see we have 3 red cores. So for 10 seconds, every time we pick up a trophy, 15% weapon damage, 4 blue cores, 40% bonus armor, and 1 yellow core, 5% skill efficiency. Now, on top of that, we can get up to 30% weapon damage, 3% armor regen, and 30% skill efficiency. Reason why, as a solo player, Memento Bag is probably the best in slot, hands down. So we do have 142,000 total damage, 929 RPM because of the seasonal modifier buff and our builds, 50 in the magazine, 75% headshot damage, and 31 optimal range. We have assault rifle damage, health damage, and damage to targets out of cover. I am running Killer. Killing an enemy with a critical hit grants 70% critical hit damage for 10 seconds. For my mods, I am running crit chance on all the pieces. So crit chance on the sight, crit chance on the underbarrel, and crit chance on the muzzle brake. That's 555. And then we have the sturdy extended mag for the 20 round magazine. For our modifiers, we are running the sanitation modifier. So the sanitation modifier is probably my favorite modifier. The fact that this can heal you once you run into a group, you activate it, you'll put them all on fire. And if you lost all your armor, you're gonna get it back instantly because this can heal you. Because if you look at what the way sanitation works is, while the modifier is active, each unique enemy set on fire adds a stack of sanitation, which grants extra damage to burning enemies up to a maximum. 2 stacks for each enemy burning, repair armor every second. 3 stacks, critical hits inflict burning damage. And then you can see how strong you can get it here. Look, repair 110% for every second. That's why when you guys do run this build, you guys can survive because if those enemies are burning and you're putting them on fire, you're going to be surviving with this. And that's why I just don't think there's a reason why you need to run all reds anymore when you can still have a lot of damage, have some crowd control, and just be able to melt enemies. I just don't think there's a reason why you need to run all reds anymore when you can still have a lot of damage, have some crowd control, and just be able to melt enemies. Now, for my passive modifiers, these are my go-tos. Shooting a rusher within 10 meters staggers them, and then it gives me that 20% movement speed. This is very easy to do to stagger rushers and then kill them. Batter up is amazing when those enemies launch nades, they continue to launch nades. You will be able to at least catch one of them when it lands with 5 meters of you, but there is a cooldown of 30 seconds. And then Rupert's Tear, if you guys aren't running this, run it. When you break any piece of the tank's armor, all the other armor pieces are broken. So all those tanks are no longer tanky to kill. And for the Season's Global Modifier, this is what actually allows you to put out an insane amount of damage because of the rate of fire and use these slower rate of fire weapons and then increase it, right? Plus, you also can get some extra damage on here, up to 30% rate of fire and 30% weapon damage. Now, this is something that is going to be helpful once we get to that master difficulty when it does come up. But overall, these are my modifiers and my go-tos. For our stats, we're sitting at 53% crit chance, 106% crit damage. Remember, we get 70% crit damage every time we get killer proc, so you add that on, so that's 176 crit damage, 75% headshot damage, and then we go to the stats, you'll see 147% armor on kill. That is going to be because the gunner class. And that's it right there. And that's the build right there, guys, that I have been running with the striker. You guys can run more blues, 1.5 million. You could probably even add one more blue if you want to. Strikers has been meta for a very long time, and it still will be meta as we go forward moving into the future. It's just one of those builds that you can run, especially as a solo player, and just dominate content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again. Nothing but skills out.